Sports is ingrained in our American culture. We just can't seem to get enough of it. This week's ambitious startup is looking to create a competitive football league that will replicate the success of the National Football League. One that will attract incredible athletes, draw in a significant number of fans, and thus become an irresistible business opportunity for sponsors and broadcasters. Here with Jeff Lewis, founder and various other titles with the
Grand Poobah
of the AFFL, which is the American Flag Football League. Full disclosure, I'm a small investor. And thanks for coming on the show today.
It's a pleasure to be in the Airstream. Does it have a name, the Airstream?
It does. Her name is Loretta.
Interesting.
So we're on a journey. Tell me where you'd like to go.
I want to go south.
Okay. Your business wants to go north?
My business wants to go north, but physically I need to go south. I'm going to go see some media folks about distribution.
If someone doesn't know you, is there kind of a foundational story that you would tell that begins to describe who you are and what you're about?
I have done very conventional things. I went to Ivy League school, went to business school, went to work at big Wall Street firms, did very fun, very exciting work, but it's all kind of standard stuff, the stuff that all the people we went to high school and college wanted to do, right?
Self-selecting, arguably.
Yeah, but all along I was the kind of person that had lots of ideas. This could be better, this should exist, and just like, maybe it's a little bit of my ADD, I don't know, but every day there's just stuff flying around in my head thinking, this could be an idea. This is something that could be. And, I just kind of let all that noise kind of go on in the background, but I never did anything with any of those ideas. It was about 2.5 years ago now that I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's another New York finance guy, and I said, I got this idea. And I shared this football idea with him. And he gave me the equivalent of a rousing endorsement in New York, which was, that might not be the dumbest idea you've ever had. And so I kind of spent a little time doing what finance guys do, which is trying to go get some facts and see if I could maybe come up with a rationale for how this idea could actually be a business. But it's funny to be 30 years into your career and all of a sudden decide I'm going to listen to that voice that's inside, that's been telling me stuff all along, and I've just been kind of telling it to shut up. And I guess this one time we let the idea out.
Yeah. Tell me about the AFFL, where it is now, and where you hope it will go.
So the AFFL is a little over 2 years old. In 2017, we played one game that was essentially a pilot for a TV show. We got the Fox Sports A team to produce basically the filming of a game with 18 cameras. For perspective, an NFL playoff game is 22. It was a high-end production. We got high-end players. We got Michael Vick, Ocho Cinco, Terrell Owens, Justin Forsett, Kerry Rhodes, just a lot of NFL players. And the idea was, if we're going to try to sell this thing to ourselves, to investors, to partners, to the media, to the press, to the public, we need to actually know what it really looks like.
And it's all about the flag. And Ocho Cinco yapping it up a little bit. But some of the best of the NFL over the last 20 years, putting their skills to test, talking a little trash, trying to figure things out. No tackling, 7-on-7. It's flag football.
A few days after we played it, Twitter streamed it, and about 315,000 people paid a visit, which we thought was a really good number given that the league hadn't been promoted, they didn't promote it. People definitely were engaged. So 2 days after that, we put this 2-hour film that we'd made onto YouTube. First week, 10,000 people watched it, which we thought was great. And then the second week, 3,000 people watched it, and we thought it sort of used up its significance. Then the YouTube algorithm got a hold of it. YouTube is an animal that lives to keep you on YouTube. The third week, 296,000 people watched it.
It's incredible.
I mean, I remember being at dinner, and it was like my phone started like vibrating because there were so many views. It was like somehow I knew that I had to look at my phone, and I don't know why, but I looked at it. All of a sudden, I was like, does anybody know what the hell's going on? And it just, caught fire. And through the course of the next year, it's been watched about 2.5 million times. The average view has been about 45 minutes, which is incredible since about half of that is on phones. We felt like the pilot had done its job, had definitely shown us that the game is engaging, that people will care. And we decided that the next step would be, let's kind of take the American Ninja Warrior concept, the American Idol concept, the World Series of Poker concept, that anybody can win, that anybody can get their shot. And we created this massive national tournament where we had 128 teams of amateurs and 4 teams of pros. And the 4 teams of pros would play a little mini tournament, and then the winner of the amateurs would play the pro winner, and we'd really get to see, for $1 million. And we got a partnership with the National Football League, 11 games on the NFL Network, working with their social media people. Amazing working with the NFL. Obviously the biggest brand in American sports by orders of magnitude. And the amateurs actually beat the pros in this final game
for $1 million.
$1 million, and did it in great style. This group of amateurs were called Fighting Cancer. They played to remember people who've been lost. Most of the teams had names like "We're bigger than you," "We're faster than you," "We're taking your money." And there was something lovely about the fact that the team that actually was spending at least a little bit of time thinking about other people was
great.
a team that won.
How do you and how should we measure the success of this business?
We have a very simple way of thinking about the business. Essentially, a core fan has a value, a lifetime value. So when he gives his attention to a broadcast game, when he goes to a game, when he buys a t-shirt, when he follows you on social media and allows you to monetize that. Media is a very interesting animal. When you have a small following, nobody wants to give you the opportunity for it to be seen, and that's the catch-22. How are you going to grow your audience if you don't have distribution? How do you know who likes it if no one sees it? These kinds of organizations in their infancy need to basically buy the opportunity to be seen, in the hope that once you pass a certain critical mass of people who are giving their attention on a regular basis, now it flips. And now people say, you actually accumulate an audience. We know that they're attractive for a variety of reasons, and so we'll pay you for accumulating and bringing together that group.
What would the business look like 3 to 5 years from now in your mind?
I feel like English soccer is really our model, where what you see in English soccer is the connection of this village game, the people's game, the game kids play at lunchtime when they're in school, the game that people play after work, that they play on weekends, is kind of throughout their society. So you have the multiple levels of play, and you have the FA Cup, where guys with jobs can work their way through a tournament. Again, part of, I think, the inspiration of the tournament we did last year, and eventually maybe get a chance to test themselves against the best. The great thing about our game is the best player in our league was a 5'8", 140-pound baggage handler from Delta Airlines.
He has been outstanding on both sides of the ball.
He was the best player on the field last week. He's been the best player on the field tonight. And if I'm somebody on the pros team in the pros division, I'm watching him play going, this guy's really, really good.
And that's the thing about flag football. There's this opportunity. You might get heard.
Yeah.
You might get seen. And there's nothing to stop you from being the best.
What have been the most challenging aspects of the business, and what maybe strategic decision are you confronting as we speak?
How much time do we have? The most challenging aspect. I mean, I've asked people for money basically like my entire life, okay? Starting out as a 22-year-old bond trader, you call up an accountant and say, please give me some money and take these bonds. And then you're at a hedge fund, please give us some money and we'll go buy some stuff for you. But I've been asking people for money who woke up in the morning wanting to give somebody their money. Nobody woke up thinking they needed to be in the flag football business. So it's a totally different.
Totally.
It's a totally different experience to go to see people, because you have to get through the first thing of like, what? You know, you get that look that's sort of like the dog that can't speak looking at you, like, did you say what? You know, people said no to Google, they said no to Uber, they're going to say no to you. What you need to do is get a yes or a no and get out of Dodge.
Did you mention that you have ADHD?
I don't know if I did.
Are you
might have.
self-diagnosed?
Not self-diagnosed, but I was sitting with a shrink a few years ago, and he sort of gave me that golden retriever look, and he says, "Hold on a second." And he hands
You get that a lot.
And he hands me a piece of paper with like 10 questions on it. He goes, "Just answer these questions."
Yeah.
And so I hand it back to him. He goes, "So, did anybody ever tell you you have ADD?"
ADD.
And I'm like, well, it's the same thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I guess I kind of always knew. It's so subtle what the medicine does. If your attention span is this big, it just gets to be maybe like that big. I'm not sure that I could have done this. Sometimes you have to grind through something.
Yeah.
And look, the people that work with me will tell you that it's still a big challenge to get me to grind through a document or something.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a little bit better focus, and I'm a little bit easier to be around.
You're not alone,
Yeah.
and I thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
I thank you for sharing the entirety of this discussion. Jeff, thank you for joining me.
It's a pleasure.
On this
Pleasure to be-
maiden voyage. I'm
Pleasure
glad we
to be
got
in,
you.
in Lillian, New York Street, is that where it was? Lillian?
Loretta.
Loretta, sorry.
Perfect. All right.
Loretta.
This was
Okay.
great.
The landlord was putting up the for rent sign. I said, "What are you getting for the rent?" She said, $2,500. I said, "I'll give you $3,000. I had to really make a big deal about the case, the refrigerator, the product, and the passion behind it. I must wake up and tell myself everything is amazing, whether I believe it or not, and it does actually shape the future.